Ci sarà veramente un intervento eccezionale fuori dall'ordinario, perché si parlerà di una nuova nazione che però non sta su nessun territorio terrestre, perché sta nello spazio. Quindi parleremo con chi l'ha concepita e chi la guida, per cui vi prego di avvicinarvi al main stage se volete sapere come può essere una nazione del futuro che sta solo nello spazio invece della superficie terrestre. Quindi avvicinatevi e prendete posto. Ci siamo, il momento è arrivato e quindi sul palco un intervento eccezionale. Si parlerà di Asgardia, la prima nazione spaziale non concepita per stare sulla Terra ma nel cielo dove volano le idee. Quindi stasera ce le farà sentire. Please welcome on stage Lena De Winne, un grande applauso, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to talk to you today about the first in the world history space nation, Asgardia. It's been founded on the 12th of October 2016 by Dr. Igor Ashurbeli, a Russian original scientist, businessman, entrepreneur, visionary. Dr. Ashurbeli is the first person who have conceived and put forward the idea of the entire humanity living in space, space being the cradle, the birthplace of the entire human civilization. Asgardia has started as a project and it became a dream. We, after 20 months only of operation, already have the government, the parliament, the court. We are forming the cabinet of ministers, central bank, national audit office. There will be our own cryptocurrency called Solar. It's already a protected trademark. We have our own territory. The territory of Asgardia is in space. You would wonder why, but actually there is no law apart from the law of gravity which holds this country to the surface of the planet Earth. We have the Constitution. The Constitution was accepted by the population. By now, we have the population of over 200,000 citizens. We have the national flag. It was selected as a result of the competition held between the citizens. And we have the coat of arms. It is a great pride for all of us. It's been designed also with the participation of Asgardians through the national contest. Asgardia also has conceived its own calendar. If you think about it, 364 days of the year easily split into 28. So there are 13 months in the year of Asgardia. Today on the calendar I marked for you 19th of July, where we're meeting today here in the campus party. But actually there is an Asgardian day to that. The day 365 is a holiday. This is the parliament, the first session of the Asgardian parliament, which was elected through democratic election for the entire population, was held on the 24th of June in Vienna. There are 13 language representatives in the parliament, of which 12 languages are the most frequently spoken languages of Asgardia, selected by the people of their own choice. And 13th region is the region of all the rest of the languages of the world. Dr. Ashurveli took the oath in the inauguration, where the head of parliament led the topic, and the Supreme Court judge, Yun Zhao, are supporting him in this historic event. Dr. Ashurveli, since then, is the head of nation of the first in the world history space nation, Asgardia. How did this start? Why Asgardia? Why is this something we all want to do in the future? We want to look at the history of spaceflight. We want to look at the history in general. For you, you're young people, you're the future. You can say space is so last century. It was already there long before I was born. Spaceflight is much older than Facebook or Google or Amazon or YouTube. And yet, if you look today at the ability to go to space, you will see that unlike in the early days of competition, where moon race, the race for the first launch of a satellite, for the first manned flight, was a tough competition in the past years of the Cold War. Today, spaceflight is a global achievement. Today, it's done in the partnership between the leading world powers. You can see on the pictures here historical footage of how things used to be in the last century, and how, as a result of all these decades of cooperation, the world is progressing today. And we can only know that the future is in the joint activities. Today, however, only 20-odd countries have their own space program. And that gives benefits to the citizens and to the scientists from these countries. They have the advantageous access to their space segment, to their facilities, to their research opportunities. While in reality, there are many more brilliant people, brilliant scientists, engineers, technologists in the world whose knowledge, whose desire to work in the space arena can benefit the entire humanity. Asgardia stands for the goodness of the entire humankind. It's the future which should give equality to all the scientists, all engineers, all entrepreneurs who want to work in the space arena. So my first message to you today, you young, brilliant people who build the future in the technical arena, come to Asgardia and talk to us about your ideas. Come to us. Yes, and I'm so happy to see a woman in the audience who waves back at me, because one thing, we have 80% of men and only 20% of women. So women, please, it's a great place. Just take my word for it. Myself and my colleague Anna, who is here in the audience also to talk to you, we all personally look forward to welcome you in Asgardia. We have brilliant plans, and we need bright people, but also bright women who make it work. It's so much fun. Just trust me on this. Asgardia has great plans in technology and economic development, in philosophical and cultural development. We continue, please. And today, again, my message is, if you think of business, if you think of startups, we have an opportunity to invest into you. We have opportunity to build the future. We looked briefly into the historic outpost, how things were happening in the past. Now I'm going to tell you a few words how things are happening today at the International Space Station. This is the longest by now in the human history permanent outpost of humankind in outer space and low Earth orbit. You see here on the footage the launches of Space Shuttle and Russian rocket Soyuz. Those of you following space news by now know that Shuttle is retired. It's been a very successful, but it had 2 deadly accidents and very costly operation. When the vehicles approach the station, you see it as a bright star at the sky, and when you watch the approaching Soyuz vehicle, that's what it looks like. Today, this is how you greet your crewmates. Of course, you meet friends with whom you worked in training for a long time. Look at it, it's tiny, it's tight, and yet people, of course, they're professionals, they spend time working together. I have included this footage especially for you to see. This is where we are today. This is the inside of the International Space Station. Professionals are good friends, they're happy to meet. And this is what the space station looks from the outside. With the span of the solar wings of 2 football fields and 400 tons of weight, it still has very limited space. The most difficult work in on the ISS is extravehicular activity, spacewalk, the EVA. It's not like in James Bond movies where you see the doors opening and closing and you're out. It takes time to prepare, to rebreathe oxygen, to prepare for the egress. The spacesuit for the EVA is a mini space station in itself. You don't put it on, you don it, you dress yourself, you walk into it. It's a system which gives you heating and gives you cooling, because as you circle around the Earth at this escape velocity of 8 kilometers per second, you go around the Earth in, physicists here, how fast do you go around the Earth when you're in low Earth orbit? No physicists in the audience. In 90 minutes. So you have 40 minutes of sunshine and you have 40 minutes of darkness. In the sunshine, it's plus 150 degrees Celsius. In the darkness, it's minus 150 degrees. The EVA spacesuit is a mini space station which fully provides you life support for your spacewalk. And you can have a drink when you're in it, but you cannot eat, you cannot do much else. So the spacewalk takes no more than 8 hours top. It's a very, very tough job. This is the natural speed of space station. This is 8 kilometers per second. This is the orbiting of the Earth. And when you look at the curvature of the Earth, you see a dim blue line. This is not just a smeared picture. This is how Earth's atmosphere looks from space. This is the thickness of the atmosphere we breathe. This is all which separates us from the blackness of the space. So just by looking at that, you can see that it is very important to preserve planet Earth, how important it is to protect all the humanity from the space threats. There is no us against them in this. Earth is our common spaceship, and only together we can make it safe. Only together we can protect the entire humankind, and that's what Asgardia is about, for protecting Earth, for the benefit of entire humanity, for space threats, for taking the entire humanity into the future in space together. Asgardia from space does not see borders. Borders in between the countries exist only in the human mind. In reality, the borders are only the boundaries of the continents, which are natural boundaries built by nature. In space now, people are performing a lot of research. They perform research in various domains. For example, this you see the pictures from the experiment how orientation works in space. In space now, people live in the lack of gravity, in weightlessness. In Asgardia, we are looking at creating artificial weightlessness. It is necessary for normal functioning of the human body. Here you can see they draw themselves their own blood samples. This is because in the blood you can see the hormones, how the body reacts to stress. It helps to build strategies for the long-term future. What would it take for a human to survive in a very long-term flight where a supply from Earth is not available, where life support systems have to be fully self-sustained. You do material science experiments. If you think about something as simple as the shape of a flame, it's a natural candle shape for us. In the lack of gravity, it's a circle. If you look about crystals, we all did chemistry at school, at high school, forget university. Crystals in microgravity are perfect because there is no gravity force pulling the atoms down. Growing plants, again, it's interesting as an experiment, but also it's a source of food because you can't always resupply food when you apply for a long time. Very interesting finding. On Earth, the scientists were convinced that the roots of the plants are growing towards the center of the Earth. From the ISS experiments, it was discovered that roots of the plants are actually growing against the velocity vector. So in those spots you see in the picture, when you dig them up, you will see that the roots are going horizontal because the space station goes that way, they go away. Those were the freezer pictures, it's how you save the biological samples in space. And here you see people doing fitness. This is extremely important because, again, in the lack of gravity, you actually do nothing. If you are like me and you do no sports, you still, by getting up from your bed and going to your computer, work against the gravity. By the third law of Newton, you step on the floor with F, the floor hits you back with minus F. Your body is under pressure, your bones exercise, your muscles exercise. In space, you totally lose body mass, you lose this strength of the bones, you lose the strength of the muscles. So it is important to do 2 hours of fitness every day religiously in space, otherwise you really can be handicapped on the way back. So again, when we talk Asgardia, when we talk about long-term habitable future, we talk about artificial gravity. This is just a transition section between the two compartments of the International Space Station. The white bags you see in the picture, it's how currently things are stored. You get one t-shirt for a week, you get 2 or 3 pairs of trousers for the duration of 6 months flight. The t-shirt you wear this week as your home clothes, next week is becoming your t-shirt for fitness. Not only, but also you have a shortage of water. You have, apart from drinking water, which is supplied of 2 liters a day, you have a bottle, you have 300 milliliters equivalent of water for hygiene. You just wipe yourself, you hang it, you let it evaporate, it gets collected. A psychological support of staying in space, taking pictures. The Earth is magnificent. No matter what is the country of origin, the culture, religious background, one thing any cosmonaut, astronaut will tell you, the biggest impression, and it started with Gagarin, the strongest, biggest impression from being in space is understanding how fragile is the Earth, how thin is the shell.